God, I offer myself to you to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those that I will help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. My name is Brenda. I'm a recovering lesbian, Hispanic, Catholic, drug addict, full-figured woman. Yes, I am. Look, y'all, look, there was 17 of y'all asleep and you're like, what? What? Could you go slower, ma'am? If you don't have paper, get paper. You're gonna need paper in a minute. If you didn't empty your bladder before the meeting, you're on your own. Really glad to be here by the grace of a God I didn't believe in. I've been sober since July the 3rd of 1990. And I'm very grateful to God and very grateful to Ali for, although let me tell on him for a minute. I called him one day just to extend him a courtesy. I called him, I said, Ali, I just want you to know I love you, man. And I appreciate all you do and just the energy that you bring into the world. And I said, if there's ever anything I can do for you, just let me know. He said, all right, well, July 3rd is the 4th is available. Can you be the speaker? I'm like, wow, I didn't think you were going to catch that in right away, though. So if y'all call Ali just to be nice, just have your calendar ready because apparently he's locked and loaded. All right. So I'm looking at y'all. Look at me. Give me a minute. How many pages we got here? We got 3 pages. All right. All right. Very good. Oh, by the way, I have a friend that says to me, Brenda, don't introduce yourself like that, man. Like people are going to already not like you and you haven't even said anything. She goes, they're going to decide something about you before they ever hear you. I said, they're alcoholics. They made up their mind when I hit the join button. Okay. There's a really good speaker here next week on Tuesday. I don't know who it is, but if this don't work for you, just know, hang on till next Tuesday. It's going to be good. I look among you today and I see that I have friends here, people I'm sponsoring, people who are sponsoring me, folks that have traveled a long way down this road with me. And for the first time in the 33 years that I've been sober, I have in attendance a couple members of my family. And I feel honored to be able to share my story in their presence. And y'all can't tell the rest of the family though. When I talk about them, y'all, it's got to stay right here. And also, I'm accompanied by the presence of my ex-wife, who is by far one of the gentlest souls that God has graced us with. And I love you, and I'm so glad that you're here. God never ceases to surprise me, and I just want you to know that it's really special, and I'm glad you're here. Do not be discouraged. 4 most important words in the book to me. Do not be discouraged. Do not be discouraged. I don't know enough to be discouraged. And I like to get that in right there because that's about the length of y'all's attention span. I ain't judging, I'm just reporting because I see some of y'all already doing this. Look, I'm trying to talk up here, about to share something really beautiful and special. Y'all already words with friends. Now look, y'all are all gonna have an opinion in a minute. If you're gonna have an opinion, the least you can do is listen to it first. I'm not judging you. Let me know if you find a good word. So yes, Teresa F. We came in the same year, ma'am. I have followed you. I have aspired to live in the spirit that you bring to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm honored to call you my friend, and I am at your service at any moment. And the dude that's posing as your sponsor, well, there's nothing I can tell you about that dude. All right. I love him. He loves me. We're good. I want you to know that in a minute, I'm probably going to cry when I tell my story. and that's how come I'm going to start with a little disclaimer. I have given myself permission to be both imperfect and enough at the same time. I often need help to maintain a rational perspective. I retain the right to have problems, to cry, to make mistakes, and to not have all my answers. And lastly, the time I have spent in recovery is less important to me than what I'm doing with that time now. And so my tears will probably come visit. They have come with my consent. I hope that doesn't make you too comfortable. Then they'll sit in the front row and we will get through what they have asked me to do today. But I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm awake. Right? And I don't work the steps to stay sober. Let's just start off with all the good stuff up here. I don't work the steps to stay sober. I work the steps to stay connected to God, and then God keeps me sober. Right? And I already explained to y'all, listen, I have a good friend, Rodney. I hope he's on here, but y'all tell him I talked about him if he's not. Man, he was on that meeting last night, and this morning he sends me just this text, and his text says, "Are you speaking again tonight, girl?" I'm like, dude, you better get back in your lane. Yeah, no, this is my gratitude tour, y'all. Y'all are gonna see a bunch of flyers all week. I'm speaking tomorrow morning, and then I'm speaking the thing on Friday, and then Saturday, shut up, I'm speaking 2 times. And then that'll bring to finish my tour, and then you won't hear from me again. I only usually speak about twice a month, because then I had to spend the rest of the time being the person I told you I was when you were at the Zoom meeting. So, all right, let's get on with the business at hand. I'm about to share with you, they have asked me to share with you the most intimate relationship in my life. Further complicated by the fact that I'm supposed to use words to describe something that there are no words for. But I come equipped with another tool, a tool I have taken out of the spiritual toolkit that you laid at my feet. I have brought not only my words, my tears, but I have also brought evidence. You know, alcoholics, they don't believe nothing if there ain't no evidence of it, right? No evidence, no crime. I should get that as a tattoo. That just came to me. Somebody write that down. No evidence, no crime. 33 years sober. Is Holly on here? Oh, good. I don't see her either. Hey, Holly asked me to speak at her meeting, and then she sends me this kind reminder, and it says, "Brenda, remember, you're not supposed to cuss when you speak at the meeting." I had 31 years sober at the time. I sent her back a text. I say, "Hey, Holly, I think you got the wrong speaker. You got time to find somebody else. Thanks." 31. Don't be telling me what to do. She's so sweet. She knows me well enough. She texts me back. She said, "Brenda, you'll be all right. It's okay." Whatever, Holly. I hope she's on here, or somebody tell her. When I get to the edge of my words, that's usually when my tears start talking. And so my hope is that somewhere between the words and the quiet, that you catch a glimpse of God. And there's a big risk that people take when they share, that I take when I share, and that is that I'm about to lay out for your inspection, my program, my relationship with God, my capacity. And there's a good chance that you'll look at that and find it wanting. You'll look at that and go, "God, I hope I have more than that when I have 33 years. I understand the risk I take." But if for a minute you feel joy or seen or loved, then it's worth the risk to me. I was talking to somebody and I told him, I said, "I love you, man." And the dude's like, "You don't even know me. How can you say that you love me?" I said, "If people can hate for no reason, I can love for no reason as well." Get out of here. All right, now we're getting to the good part. I'm gonna tell some stories. And as you see the evolution of my stories, you'll also be able to see the evolution of my relationship with God. Those of you who have been sitting around Alcoholics Anonymous saying, look, I can't never be like that. I can't know the book. The cards I have been dealt in my life, if you knew them, you would understand. I got a bad hand. And I can't do that. And I won't ever be you. And I can't, and that because of the cards that I have been dealt. Hey, everybody get back. It's Independence Day, so I brought y'all some new cards. Everybody getting new cards today. And so the game we're going to play is who can pick up the most cards. So if you hear something that I share, pick it up, put it on your paper, or put it in your heart, or put it in the bag where you have all the stuff you're mad about. Put it somewhere. Pick up as many cards as you can this whole time that we share. They're not all for you. Some of the cards are for your sponsees, some are for your mom, some for your dad, some for the stranger, some for all the people sitting on the other side of the political aisle. I don't care. It don't matter. Pick up as many cards as you can. Are you ready? Look. All right. Grab the cards as they come by. Here we go. So, couple of stories from before I got sober. I was over at this place called Taco Cabana. I was living in San Antonio, and I got in my car, and these two other friends that were with me, they got in their car, and somebody threw one of those big old cups of soda at my window. I turned around and I saw that dude that just got in his car. I'm like, nope, not today. And I go ahead, look, I picked up the bat I had in the back seat. I don't want to talk about why I kept the bat in the back seat. That's not important. So anyway, I got my bat. I get out of the car and I go over to this guy and I'm like tapping on his window. And I'm like, I'm going to try to edit everything I said. None of it was spiritual. And it was like Mexican things. Y'all don't know. Okay. So I was like, and the dude looked genuinely scared. I thought he was gonna have a heart attack. He's like looking, he's trying to put in reverse, and I'm like, yeah, let me see you again, like that. So anyway, everybody got in the car and they were laughing. I'm like, I know, he's a fool. I didn't call him that, but so then I took a big old bite of my food and I realized I was thirsty. I'm like, hey, who got my drink? Well, I remember that I had put the drink on the top of the car, and when I closed my window, the drink fell on my window, and that dude had not thrown it at my window. Let's move on. So I shared that story because like one day I think that dude's gonna be here, man. Look, as the kids say nowadays, my bad. Sorry about how I scared you and everything like that. Didn't mean it. Now, here's what happened to me. I'm taking my last drinks in San Antonio, Texas. I was there for a party and I was about ready to head home and I had hit bottom. It was July 4th weekend of 1990 and I couldn't do it one more time. I couldn't do it one more day. The woman that I was with at the time looked at me and said, Brenda, I hate who you become when you drink. And from someplace, I don't even know where, came the thought, I do too. So I get back to my hometown and I tell my family, I got to go to treatment right now because I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I'm on the phone and I'm like, this is back in the day. It wasn't all complicated. You call the hospital and then you went and turn yourself in. And so I call them and I'm like, I need to go. And I'm, just like this, right? Just sobbing. And then I told my family, I said, I'm going to go to treatment. It's over here at this hospital. And they're like, is that the one that's next to the psych ward? And I'm like, yeah, but like, I got to go because I'm going to die if I don't go tonight. And they have a place. And they said, your sister's over at the psych ward. Let me get her on the phone for you. So the next thing I know, somebody's handing me a phone and I'm talking to my sister who's at the psych ward reporting that I'm about to be over there too. And then this happened. Now this will give you a snapshot of what my family was like. I was drinking with them at the end of it all. And they're like, talk to her. And I said, hey, I'm like going to go get treatment. I'm going to die if I don't go. And I heard you're over at the psych ward. Hope it's going all right. She says, oh, since you're finna come over here, could you stop by and get me some pantyhose? I said, what? She said, could you get me some pantyhose? I'm like, and to show you I wasn't okay either. I said, what size do you wear? And this is back when you used to be able to get pantyhose in like the little eggs. Remember they were in little eggs? And so I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes on what I'm supposed to. And then she's like, be sure you get taupe. Is taupe even a color still? So I get what I can together and I go to treatment and I tell the people checking me in, I said, hey, my sister's over at the psych ward. Could you take her stuff? Daddy had taupe. That's where we were. That's where we got. The insanity of it all, man. Like I was living in a way that I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't trust the things that had gotten me. I was 24 years old, and I can tell you the day I was going to die. I was going to die. The day I was going to die was going to be July the 4th of 1990. And I know that because I found you on the 3rd. And had that not been the case, I would not be your speaker. So I get to AA, I'm 24 years old. I live out somewhere in West Texas, and I go to meetings there, and I don't want to be there. And I would go to meetings and take the newspaper. And as soon as the meeting started, I'd open the paper for no good reason. And this guy be pretty pissed off about it. And so the next day I brought the paper and some headphones to the meeting of A. Look, I don't even think they worked. They didn't have no batteries or nothing, but that was not the point. And so I just want to, look, I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that I'm over sober. Like that's ever in danger of happening. But here's what y'all need to know. I got a weekend pass, like 2 weeks, and I miss my family so much. We have a bunch of little babies. I have 27 nephews and nieces, 22 of them are boys. And then like 47 great nephews and nieces, but I call them all my sons, my kids, my babies, my daughters. And so this guy, he said, man, did you hear Brenda? I overheard him at my home group. He's like, did you hear Brenda share the other day? She said she got 22 kids. I guess he got there because I'm Mexican, but he better get back in his lane is all I'm saying. They're all mine. All of the kids are mine. Everybody. And so my son is on here this evening. He doesn't know something I'm about to tell him. He was born in January of 88. I sobered up in July of 90. When he turned 2 years old, January of 90, I looked at him one day when I was holding him, and I realized that if I didn't do something different, I was damning him to the same life that I'd lived. There was not going to be another choice than the experience we'd had if I didn't do something different. And so I hope he rolled up in here tonight. I don't see him, but I hope, Michael, I hope that you understand that the reason I'm sober today is because I looked in your eyes and I loved you that much. I was about 3 years sober. I was walking through the steps, feeling all good about myself. And I went to the video store. Let me help the kids. So you used to have to go to the store to get the movies. I don't want to talk about it, but you had to go to the store. Anyway, so I went to the store and I look at some titles, and there's some title up here for $3.99. And then at the bottom, there's a whole shelf of $1.99 movies. I'm like, I want to take me some of those. That's cheap in case I don't like it. I only spend. So I got 3 or 4, whatever. I go to the register. I'm all happy. I put my list up there, and that woman charged me $3.99 for those movies. And I'm not having it because she don't think I can do math or something. So I start my speech. I said, look here, little girl, you're wrong. I ain't gonna come up here and be charged extra. What's wrong with you? Now, while I'm going through this tirade, the little stocking guy went over there and got the label that showed that all the movies I had were $3.99. So I did the only alcoholic thing I could. I said, clearly, y'all don't need my business. So I'm going to take my business elsewhere. And I stomped out of there. I was crying by the time I got to the car. I didn't have to call my sponsor on this one. So, man, I get out of the car. I'm sobbing. I'm just crying because I'm trying to do better. And the only thing worse than having to walk back in there to make those amends to little Bridget was the fact that I had to wait in line to make my amends to Bridget, because apparently everybody else was checking out at the same time. That's just 6 people deep in the line. And people were like, dang, were you looking for a title you didn't find? You want to look through my basket? Can I get your movies? What is wrong with you, lady? And I'm like, And I get up there and I start my speech. I want you to know that I'm sorry. And I know I'm not supposed to act like that. And I know better than that. And God is helping me. And I do all of that. And then the little girl says, ma'am, I think you're looking for Bridget, and she's working at the back of the store now. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I felt like saying, could you go back there and tell her what the things I had told you? No. So there I go. Walk all the way down the aisle. Now I'm mad because apparently people have stopped shopping. They're like, there she is. Dude, come here. That's a lady that blew a gasket a minute. She's looking, where's Bridget? Where's Bridget? I'm like, and so I get back there and I make my speech again. I tell her another, said the other. And then when I'm walking away, I'm walking back up to the front of the store. There were several people in the store that did this. They're like, and being the alcoholic I am, I'm like this now. Really? I took that opportunity to have a parade of one. Hi. So I've been sober, and I just want y'all to know that some incredible things have happened to me. There's a bunch of I was living in Florida at the time, and I love doing stuff for the young people in AA. I will sign up for anything they invite me to. Love them, love them, love them. And I would go to the young people's group there. And we all went there one night. They knew me. I'd been around there for a minute. And then this woman gets up there to go speak. And she tells my story. As in, she got my CD, memorized my story, and told it from the podium of that meeting. The kids were mad. And I'm like, shh. And the little kid in front of me leans his chair back. He says, I guess you can go. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they say you got to stay in AA till you hear your story. I guess you can go now. So she did. She told the whole story. And I told the kids at the end, go say hello, go say thank you. It was a great story. No matter who tell it, it's a good story. Go over there and say hello and go say thank you. And then I was the last one that came to the line. I said, hi, my name is Brenda J. It's a pleasure to hear you tonight. Man, that's a great story. And she looked at me like, She goes, Brenda J. She said, I heard that name somewhere. I said, I imagine that you did, but I wanted to thank you for the service that you provided us tonight. And thank you, and I appreciate you. I got in my car and I'm crying. I'm crying because I remember one day when I told my sister, the oldest of us, I told her that I was in AA, and she said, Brenda, she said, those people are going to take everything from you. And I thought to myself, they took my story. And I called Sandy Beach. He and I were friends, and he was living in Tampa as well. And I told him, I said, Sandy, I said, my sister was right. She said that you guys were going to take everything from me. And that woman told my story. And Sandy says, Brenda, why don't we wait and see what God's going to do with that? I'm like, that's all you got? Why don't you wait and see what God's going to do with that? That day, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, for the last 33 years, I am still whole. I'll just stay in that space that no matter what's happening, I always say to myself, why don't we wait and see what God's going to do with that? My whole life has changed. I stopped drinking. There's a line in the 12 and 12 at the beginning of the 12th step. I think it's in the first paragraph that says, we work the steps so that we and those about us might find emotional sobriety. And the truth is that nobody else in my family has gotten sober. I am the only one that has gotten sober, and the entire trajectory of my family's life has changed. These little kids come running from everywhere. I pull up to my mom's house and here come kids, neighborhood kids from down the street. And as long as that was the truth, I didn't need any other recognition. I didn't need anything else in my life. One time I was at Disney World and I bought one of those little invisible dogs. Remember the ones that have the little leash, but there's no dog in it? So I'm walking through and, I'm eating my ice cream, which the doctor said was, that I could do that. Anyway, so I'm eating my ice cream and I'm walking this invisible dog and I'm like this. And then I looked up and there's like 12 people videotaping me. And I'm like, man, this is going to show up somewhere when I go get a real good job. And yeah, I look behind me and there was a bunch of little kids following me. And one of the little girls says, she asked me in Spanish, she says, ¿Podemos tocar el perrito? She said, can we touch your dog? I said, well, of course you can, come on. And then they're petting the dog. It was so funny. I said, y'all come on, because he need to go pee. So we'd go over by the bush and tip him over a little bit. And then when it was time for me to leave the park, these kids are all still following me. I had to make an announcement. Will you please come get the child that you brought to the park with you? I got to go. So they all came, except one little dude. And he was getting on the bus that I was getting on. And I said to him, he said, I love your dog. I said, thank you so much. I was gonna be like, do you see an actual dog? What's going on with you, Ronaldo? Anyway, so he said, I love your dog. And then we got to, I said, I'm a little nervous because I don't know if they're gonna let me on the bus. Do you know if they can take dogs on the bus? Look, we got over there, the bus came, the door opened, that little dude shot up in front of me and he said, mister, this lady needs to bring this dog on this bus. And it's a good dog. I've been watching it. So it should be okay. And we got on the bus, everybody, shut up. That's the kind of stuff. There's nothing else to do with a life. There's nothing else to do with a life if it isn't to bring joy. I didn't get sober so I could walk a fake dog and little kids would believe in that. But man, I'm gonna tell you what, I have made it my life's work to make people believe in magic. To make people believe that if I set down my resentment, that God's grace will come running. To make people believe that there is a solution. And I've looked at a lot of books and there's not one book that says there is a solution except if your name is Sharon. She on here, we tight. There's not anywhere in the book where it says there is a solution except if you're from Philadelphia and you should root for the Eagles. By the way, I went to go speak one time in Philadelphia and I kept getting lost, mostly because they said stay together. And again, I have that thing about don't tell me what to do. So I would just, all of a sudden I was in this place and I looked up and I was right in front of the Liberty Bell. The real Liberty Bell. And all of a sudden, right over my shoulder, I felt my mom and my grandmother. And all those women in my family that had taken their place so I could stand 12 steps away from the Liberty Bell. And I want you to know that I took the steps and got closer and closer and closer. And when I arrived at the Liberty Bell, we all arrived at the Liberty Bell. I forget that the work I'm doing here is way bigger than me. I forget that we're about something bigger, that I'm about God's grace and I'm about God's goodness and I'm about God's forgiveness. And it was just such a beautiful thing to be able to walk up to that Liberty Bell, knowing that all those women had brought me to that place. I have a nephew named Eric, and he has muscular dystrophy and cerebral palsy. And one day I took him to go to his doctor's appointment with my sister, and the doctor came out a little while later and he was crying. He goes, "Are you BJ?" That's what that's what all the babies call me. I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I just want you to know I was in there talking to Eric and I asked him who his best friend was and he said BJ. He said he got some braces today and he's a little embarrassed, but he really needs to wear them." And I walked into that room and I looked at his braces. I'm like, why do you always get the cool stuff? Doctor, can I have some of those like that? And all of a sudden his face lit up. And he's like, hey, he's strutting in those. He's like, and he out the door and like, hey, everybody, look, he got new braces and stuff. You know, we do that for each other. That thing that I think I should hide, that thing that I feel like I'd be mortified if you knew it about me, all of that, to just change your perspective, shift, downshift, upshift, move, work a step, go to a meeting, sponsor somebody, tell the truth, cry the tears, do whatever, Brenda, to shift the perspective. They keep two things at the meeting, which is why I got to go to the meeting that I can't find anywhere else. First, it's newcomers to remind me of the distance that I've already traveled and a new perspective. I got to go where the meetings are to get that. I'd moved to Florida, and I was sat in a meeting one day, and I said, I don't know anybody here. I don't recognize anything. None of the trees look the same. Nobody calls my name. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm so mad at God because he might as well just pick me up and put me in the middle of Montana. And this girl followed me out to the car, and she goes, hey. She goes, I got a question for you. I said, what? She said, how long you been here? I said, 3 weeks. She's like, well, you chill the hell out then. She's like, you only been here 3 weeks. She wound up on my resentment list, but let me just move on. So again, I go to one of those young people's things, and look, the Pope and 4 people have my phone number. Swear. People are like, can I have your number? I'm like, no, you can't have my number. Oh, by the way, I never read chat either. So if you're mad and you put it in chat, you're on your own. So I don't read the chat. I always give everybody my email. You'll be surprised how many people are like, I got to talk to you. I got to talk to you. But I give them an email address and they can't sit down and write a little email. My favorites, though, are the one that said, oh, thanks for the meeting. Can I have your number? Do you think I gave you my email address so you could ask me for my number? I'll move on. Anyway, so I'm up in Pennsylvania, and and this phone rings, and I never answer the phone if I don't see your name. I got to see your name because I'm about to. But I answered it, and I picked it up, and I said, hello, this is Brenda. And there's this girl on the line. I don't know why I got to hold my phone. I love y'all so much. I'm giving y'all visual context clues. Anyway, she said, I was wondering if you could come speak for our meeting. And I said, look, I'm traveling right now. I'm going to hang up, leave me the message, and I'll call you when I get home, when I look at the calendar. I said, oh, wait a minute, before you go, where are you? Where is this conference? She said, we're in the middle of Montana. And that's God's way of saying to me, Brenda, I got you. Listen, every time somebody calls me and they ask me to speak in like 2025, I know some stuff's going to go down between now and then, and my it's going to be current by the time I get there. God's saying to me, I got you today. I got you tomorrow. I got you in 24, I got you. And you know what? I forget, like I tell my people, remember, we are always working with a net. My father got sick, and I was living in Dallas at the time, and I couldn't find a job. I'd gone on 5 or 6. I'm a teacher by profession. I'd gone on, I think I went on 5 interviews, and at the interview, they're like, we love you. We're going to give you a job. It's going to be great. And then they would not call back, disappeared off the face of the earth. So on the 6th interview, I got up that morning and I said, God, you better get your crap worked out. I'm tired of dressing up and going on interviews. Give me the job, but help me move along. Amen. You can say whatever you want as long as you throw an amen at the end, turns it into a prayer, just like that. So I went to the interview, and the school had already started. It started in August. I'm interviewing sometime, and I get the job, and I'm the music teacher. You know what's real good to know if you're the music teacher? Music. I had no idea. I'm like, these instruments are so cute. I love these so much. My sister called me at the beginning of November. I'd been there for a few months at that job. My sister called me and she said, Brenda, she said, Dad's sick. You should come home. I said, you mean this weekend? She was like, no, you should come home. So I turned my car around to go pack my bag. And I called my job and I said, I can't come to work today. My father's ill. I've got to go to be with him. And I went all the way, I'd always wanted my dad to like pick me up and put me on his knee and tell me that he loved me and that of all the little girls that God could have given him, that he was glad he got me. Then that didn't happen. He didn't have the capacity for it. He was orphaned when he was 4. He didn't know how to do that. But I get over to his house and he's sitting on the bed and his little feet are dangling because he's not. And all of a sudden I saw this little boy. I saw this little 4-year-old. And this thought came to me. See, you know I'm sober if I can do things today I couldn't do when I got here. This thought came to me. Brenda, can you do for your father what he could not do for you? And I went over and I sat next to him and I looked him in the eye. He had got colon cancer and they were going to operate. And I said to him, I said, Dad, I just want you to know that I'm not leaving. I want you to know that I love you. And of all the men that God could have given me to be my dad, I just want you to know how happy I am that I got you. And my dad stood up and I stood up and he threw his arms around me and he starts to sob. On Christmas Eve of that year, it was his time to go. And I went into his room. My family, we all went home. All 9 of us went home. And he was afraid to die. And we had prayed for him and blessed the path and asked God for grace. And I knelt by his bed on the morning of Christmas Eve. And I put my hand on his chest and then I put my hand over his eyes because he didn't want to close his eyes because he was scared. And I rocked him back and forth. And all I could say to him was, all I could think of was, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. The only thing I had left to give him was the thing you gave me. And I rocked him until he died. My mom, they'd been married their whole lives, and my mom died in December also, a few years later. But I remember about 4 months after my dad died, my mom developed Alzheimer's, and I said to God, I said, I'm only gonna ask you for one thing. I'm begging you. The first time that my mom doesn't know who I am, please help me be standing in front of her. So I'd call her on the phone and I'd go on the weekends. It was a 6-hour drive each way. You know, I'd leave school and drive all the way out there, spend the weekend, and drive back on Sunday night and go to work. And I was home. And she looked at me. There's this saying in Spanish. It's very, very affectionate. And people will ask you, ¿de quién eres? Who do you belong to? And you say who your mother and father are and stuff. And my mom looked at me. I brought in my suitcase and she looks over at me and I gave her a hug and kissed her. And she looks over and she says, ¿de quién eres? I said, I'm yours, Mom. I'm yours. My name is Brenda. And she looks at me and she smiled. I said, I'm your favorite. Uh, she had she'd been losing weight and my family would call me. I was living in Tampa at the time and she'd been losing weight and they called me one day and said, you know, she's not eating anymore. And I said, I can get there this weekend. So I went and I saw my mom and I said to her, I said, hey, you see the doctor in the morning? She said, yeah. I said, well, after the doctor appointment, why don't we go across the street to the grocery store and get us a pie? and some Cool Whip. She's like, okay. I said, don't tell the doctor. Shut up. The doctor's like, how are you feeling? She's like, I'm fine. He's like, how's your pain? It's good. So we went after. I'm like, wait and not tell the doctor. So we went and got pie and we got Cool Whip. And then the next morning, I'm like, oh, we should eat these cookies with the coffee. Have you ever had that? It's spectacular. Look, in just like 3 days, my mom gained 5 pounds. I gained 5 pounds too, but it was service work, people. I've held on to them. They're special. So my mom is getting ready to pass, and she looks at me and she goes, Brenda, she says, you've been a good daughter. And I said to her, I said, you've been a good teacher. I said, I'll see you the next time around. And when my mom died, all my little nephews and nieces were just completely heartbroken. And so I did the hard thing. I went and sat in the recliner, and these little kids would crawl in my lap, and I'd rock them, and they're like, I want grandma back. I want grandma back. How come God took grandma? I want grandma back. And I sat in that rocking chair as long as we needed to, and I'd already made the arrangements, and we went and we finished that. And I told my brothers and sisters, I said, after we get done with this hard thing to do here, you can all go to whatever corner of the earth you pick. You never have to see each other or talk to each other again, but we are going to finish well. So all those people right here who are drinking or drunk, I will make arrangements to have you arrested. You better mark my words so that we can have a funeral and finish well with this. To their credit, they all sobered up, and I said, your mom needs you. Your dad needs you. Grandma's gonna die when you get done with whatever drink you're taking now, whatever axe you're grinding now. She's still gonna die. And I want you to know that we did that, and we buried my mom. And I had no idea how it would break us, the grief of it all. I want you to know something before I quit here. About 3 years ago, my life just fell apart from the inside. And I go to the doctor and ran some tests, and the doctor said, Brenda, she said, you're not in the fight of your life. You're in the fight for your life. And I immediately got to the work. of it, and it's been 3 years. And I have a group of women, one guy that I call the No Fix Six. Everybody should have a group that are the No Fix Six. And these are the 6 people that I can call that would just let me cry and let me grieve and not have to fix whatever it is with some frigging guy. Woo. With some bumper sticker thing. The last 9 months, I have been doubled over in pain in my own apartment, just vomiting from all the things that have been shaken loose. And I have not been deterred. I didn't come all this way. I didn't do all those inventories, cry all those tears, tell all those truths, straighten up all the chairs and the tables to be to this place right now in my life and be afraid. I'm not doing it. I just want you guys to stay until you get all the stuff between the ifs. If we are painstaking, And if we work for them, stay to get everything between the ifs. Do one more meeting, tell one more truth, hold on for one more day, because whatever day this is not quit day. It's not quit day. We don't, I tell people all the time, those of you like, I think I'm going to commit suicide. I'm saying, hey, I got news for you, man. You missed your exit. You missed your exit. Now we're in AA and we just have to work the steps. Sorry, that was way back there and you missed it. And I just want you to know that I call the women and the men that I sponsor, and I said, that day you called me and your heart hurt so bad. What did I tell you? What did I tell you to do? Tell it to me. Tell it back to me. I'm going to read something to you and then I'm going to go. It says, still more wonderful. I can't even see. I'm so sorry. It says, still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not need to be specially distinguished among our fellows to be useful and profoundly happy. Service gladly met. That's why I'm here. Service gladly met. Obligations squarely met. Troubles well accepted or solved with God's help. The knowledge that at home and in the world we are partners in a common effort. The well understood fact that in God's sight all human beings are important. The proof that love freely given surely brings a full return. That we need no longer be isolated and alone in self-constructed prisons. The surety that we are no longer square pegs in round holes, that we belong in God's scheme of things. These are the permanent and legitimate satisfactions of right living for which no amount of pomp and circumstance could ever substitute. True ambition is not what we thought it to be. True ambition is a deep desire to live usefully and to walk humbly under the grace of God. If there's anybody in Texas, I need your help getting all these cards up off the floor. And if you don't remember anything else from tonight, I want you to remember and hear me say to you, do not be discouraged. Do not be discouraged. Do not be discouraged. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, family. My name is Alice. I'm a grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I love this meeting. I love you, Teresa, and Allie and Brenda. You know that I love you. So, you've said so many things that were really profound, but what I really want to ask you to expand on is, if I come to the meeting for two reasons, right? The newcomer that lets me see how much progress I've made, and new perspective, right? That maybe is about letting me see how much further I have to go. And if really what I'm after is this right living, right, that you talked about, what a beautiful reading at the end. How is it that you continue to show up with the level of vulnerability that allows you to show people that you're cracked open without the need to pretend like, I'm 33 years sober, yay, everything's okay. Like, would you talk about the value of vulnerability?
Thank you, Alice. I love you as well. Nobody gains from my dishonesty. It serves no one. And I remember I was living in Dallas. I was going back and forth when my dad was dying, and I was sitting in a meeting one day just bawling my eyes out, and this little kid, he's all tattooed up, got these things in his ears, and he comes to me after the meeting. He said, "Hey, I thought that was the point." He said, "I thought it was the point to feel like the way you feel right now because your dad's dying. Other than that, the other option is to flatline, and we already did that." So look, I can hide. I have this friend who says, "Man, I would just die if the people in AA ever knew that I did this, that, and the other." And his sponsor said to him, he says, "Unless they know, you will die." Look, I have always taken the steepest stairs to the highest places. Always. It's my nature. I don't want to see the world from where everybody else watches it. I want to go somewhere higher because of the view from there. But now these last 3 years have taught me that I need to take the dimensions the other direction. I don't want to be with people who are okay no matter what. I don't want to be with people who nothing has happened to them in 20 years. You're going to pick up a chip and go, I have a therapist, and the first question I asked her, look, I'm taking her on an interview. I said to her, I said, man, what's the last thing you cried about? And she said, yesterday I was watching this movie, and I said, I'd like to make an appointment with you. Because if she had said, I don't know, 25 years ago when my family moved from Kansas, I'd have hung up. I got nothing against Kansas, go Jayhawks. So it's the real value, Alice, the real value is that I have the capacity and the charge and the spirit of God in me to save a life. What am I going to do? Hide? What I'm choosing to do is tell you that me hiding is more important to me than you're living, and there's something wrong with that for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Rico Cruz, come on up.
De corazón, no tienen pregunta, pero primero, cumpleaños feliz, cumpleaños feliz, cumpleaños mi corazón, cumpleaños feliz y mucho más. Te quiero mucho, mami. Me voy.
Gracias. That dude just came to sing. Next.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Rico. Thank you so much. Kendra, come on up. He's mute.
Hey everybody, Kendra, alcoholic. Thank you, Allie and Teresa, for your service at this meeting. And I'm sorry for all the fireworks that are going off in my backyard. Brenda, thank you for your share. I wanted to ask, I wrote down, why don't we wait and see what God's going to do with that? What a powerful question. Do you have an example of that coming to a place that you could see that recently? You asked that question and you saw God do something with that, whatever it is.
I went over yesterday morning. Thank you for the question. I went over yesterday morning and had breakfast to celebrate my birthday with my baby and his wife and their 2 kids. I didn't know how to do that when I got here. I didn't know how to say to him, you're my gift. I want this for you. All I could do is put it out there, because this is what I didn't know. And once I knew this, everything changed. I did not know that God wants what I want in my life or something better. I was under the impression that God was willing to settle for whatever else and that he was going to punish me and I didn't deserve it. And none of that's the truth. God wants what I wanted for my life, or he wants something better. That's my other name for God. Sometimes I pray and I'm like, my something better. My something better, I need you. When I call upon God for help 100% of the time, you know what he does? He helps me. He don't sit there and go, well, I helped you yesterday. Or he doesn't say, really, you have been slacking in life. By the way, if there's ever going to be anything that's never going to be said about me, it's going to be that. I don't know how I'm going to die, but I do know I'm going to die surrendered. So go out tomorrow and pretend like you believe that. Pretend like you believe that God wants something better. And what you're going to find is something better. Next.
Beautiful. Thank you. Sharon, please come on.
Brenda, I love you so much that I'm on camera right now and I am not camera ready. Thank you so much for your qualification. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. You said a lot. You touched on a lot of good stuff. Changing, like shifting your perspective in pain, right? Like there's some things that, I know there's some things that I can do, right? But sometimes, that works for the moment. Like it doesn't really shift the pain of the stuff. And I get it. I'm supposed to sit and wait. but sometimes that's really, really hard. Any pointers, like, how do you do it?
Thank you for the question. I love you and thank you for coming on camera. The worst thing for me to do when I'm in pain is sit with it, sit still and do nothing for me. And so what I've learned how to do is when I'm in pain, wherever that pain is, I stand up. I stand in the pain, just like a tree volunteers to stand in the storm. You know, I know that I'm helping people when I'm a tree and all my leaves are out and they come over and sit down and I'm giving them shade and all this, but then the wind will start blowing and all the leaves will start leaving and all of a sudden I'm exposed. And now people don't see the shade I can give them. And I wonder, will they find something of worth to come sit with here? And that's the process of recovery. The wind is supposed to blow the leaves. And they're all supposed to go, and it's supposed to get cold. And then God asked me, and life asked me, are you the kind of person that can stand right here and look at the people that come by and say, I am a tree. I am a tree, even though you cannot see my leaves. I am a tree. And here's the most important thing, Sharon. When I'm in that kind of pain, I have to look at my life, the people in it, the people helping me, and say to them with 100% conviction, you need to know that my roots run all the way to the ocean. Thank you. Did I break the meeting? What the hell? Who's next? Almost.
Oh, I didn't know you were finished. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's me, baby. Don't worry. Sorry, my bad.
Priscilla, come on up. If
Ah.
you can turn your video on, that would be great.
I'm trying. That's never happened to me before. I don't know how to fix it.
Does that
Hello,
help you?
Brenda.
Hi, darling. She's my former sponsor. We're going to give her a pass. Tell us.
I love you so much. I wish I could show you my face. I don't know what to do. Anyway, I don't have a question for you. I just wanted to say I love you and I just love hanging out with you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, I love you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I love you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
I'll take what the hell for 400, Alex.
Priscilla T, big books there. Come on up. Please unmute yourself.
Hey, I'm Dina. I'm alcoholic, big book slayer. Since she said she'll take what the hell for 400, I say nope. Taupe ain't dope. Don't get them, no matter what you want. Don't buy no taupe hose. And I'm really I loved your talk, Brenda, and I loved all the shares. And today when I worked with some sponsees from what you said last night, I took my little list of talk about freedom, God, and steps. And so today I'll be taking with me on what is God going to do with that. And I really appreciate all the information I got. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dean.
Kristen Vendido. Please come on up.
Hey guys, I'm Kristen. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Brenda. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for being vulnerable and honest. I think it's really hard to do that. Grief is hard, right? And walking through it, I like what you said, like you stand there and you walk through it and you don't have to do it alone. That's the part about it that I love the most, is that like, through my story, I've had different experiences, and like through that pain, I get to grow, and through that pain, I get to do that with all of you guys and with my higher power. And God is always with me. So I just keep seeking, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Hey, y'all, you're going to miss an opportunity. Literally, God is right here with us. And so the questions that usually rise out of my heart, what do you do when you think God can't forgive you? What do you do when you think God's mad at you? What do you do when you're mad at God and you don't have any more words? What do you do when you can't work the steps, or you've worked the steps and you're not free? What, okay, I'm not gonna make up the questions too. I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, people.
Thank you, Kristen. Rick Rowe from Toronto, come on up.
Hey everyone, my name's Rick and I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Brenda. I absolutely loved your share tonight, especially your amends with that woman in the video store. And yes, I do know what videos are, and I do know DVDs and all that other stuff. But that amends that you made there was something that I would probably personally bypass. So when you brought that to the table tonight, it got me looking at and thinking about some of the things that I overlook throughout the days, and through my encounters with other people, whether it's through grocery stores or people on the street, or opening and closing the door on others. Yeah, you know, there's so much more work for me to do. And when it comes to being just human and decent towards other people. So thank you again for your talk tonight, and especially for that story.
Thank you, Rick. And what you just said, that's I'm trying to stay in my chair. That's the difference between being fully awake, sober, accounted for, and mediocre sobriety. It's those things. It's, can I do for you what you won't do for me? Listen, I literally say hello to everybody I meet. Swear to God, people I don't know. I literally greet every human I come to. Accidentally, I don't even mean to sometimes, but I find myself saying hello, and they walk right by me all pissed off. I'm not responsible for them, but I gave them the opportunity. I put a seed in there. I'm gonna water it tomorrow when I see him, and I'm just gonna keep saying hello until he looks at me and says, I had the lady do this. I kept saying hello to her every morning because we left at the same time, and she looks at me, she goes, do I know you? I said, no, but I'm gonna give you another chance tomorrow. You know, so it's these little things. Be about the little things. Be about the kindness. Be about that thing that says to a human, I see you. If we all worked at wherever we worked at and we had a vest on, which by the way, we should all have a vest on for work. And the little tag right here doesn't have our name on it. The little tag right here says helper. If I don't go out into my life with my little vest that says helper, I have missed the boat. The rest of it doesn't matter. It don't, you know, it just, okay, next, vamos, Marianne, okay.
Marianne.
People upstairs are really pissed and sober because they can hear me. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marianne and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm really glad I was here tonight to hear you. Things go in my ears and they get messed up in my brain. But what I think you said was, you know, what do you do when you think God won't help you? That's where I was at the beginning of my sobriety when I was asked to do the third step with my sponsor. And I thought, God's not going to help me. What if I don't want to do his will? What if he tells me I have to do this or that and I can't do it, or I don't want to do it, or, you know, or I feel like, you know, I've been too shameful in my life for him to spread his grace on me. I was pretty outspoken at that time. And I must have said something like that in the meeting and afterward. And I thank God for crusty old timers who tell you the truth, you know. An old timer came up to me and he said, remember this, the will of God will never take you to a place where the grace of God won't protect you. And I knew, I don't know why I believed him. I really don't, because I didn't believe much right in the beginning. But I knew that went right to my heart. And I knew that whatever I needed, that God was on my side. From that moment on, I knew that I was his child and he wanted good for me. And it's been that way ever since. And I needed help in working on that. And you helped me. Everyone here helped me grow up, put my hand in God's hand. I live in his pocket now. I know he's there for me. I know when I have troubles, I may not ever see the answer. But as long as I ask him the question, God, will you help me? The answer will come, whether I see it or not. And it'll be always to my benefit. So I thank you again for being here tonight. I loved your energy. I'm so exhausted. I need to hear that kind of energy. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Irina M., please, come on up.
Good evening, family. My name's Irina. I'm an alcoholic. Brenda, you are exactly what I needed today. Your energy when you came out the gate and just listed all, hi, I'm Brenda, and I'm down the list. And I was like, she's got me. It was all right out there. And the sheer joy in your face as you spoke, regardless of how difficult it was, is something right now. It's like I aspire to be you someday, you know, or have that energy someday. Because I recently had, well, it's not even that recent. More is revealed, and sometimes it's really shitty, right? Pardon my French. But it involved the religion of my upbringing and something occurring in one of the most sacred spaces. And I struggle. And thank you for suggesting some questions, because I've been having a struggle reconnecting with God, because I've been so angry that there haven't been any words other than sheer anger. And I'm trying to go through the motions. You know, that sometimes I hear fake it till I make it in the rooms. And it's like, I'm trying to latch on, I'm trying to connect. And in that moment of this horrible thing that occurred, I felt like God abandoned me. And I'm really not sure how to get back. And I know that all the evidence, there's the body of evidence behind me that I've gotten before, as I've been here a few 24 hours. I had the body of evidence is there, but it's like I don't want to lean into that. So I would appreciate any insights that you had.
Yeah, so the good thing is I just came through these weeds. The exact weeds that you talked about, I just came through them. And here's the deal. I tell people, if you tell me what you're afraid of, I'll tell you what you believe about God. And there's the crux. You know, I would always look at God and go, why you let that happen? Where were you? You're supposed to be the one taking care of me. You're supposed to be the one that's in charge, that has all the power. How did that happen? And God, the truth, the honest truth is that I was affected by someone else's human will. God did not do that to me. God did not say, this is part of a lesson I want. That's not who God is. God doesn't do that to us. God doesn't do that to me. But what happened is that another human imposed their will, and God was the one that set me free. When I asked him, I said, where the hell were you? He said, I was right there next to you, Brenda. And every tear you cried, and every moment of concern, and every doubt that has sown, I'm right here. I'm staying right here. You can make this about me, but I didn't do that to you. And I'm going to stay until you get to the other side of it. Do not be afraid. I'm going to go before you. I am the second person that arrives at anything going on in my life right now, because God is already there. And here's the deal. Like if there was love and grace and joy and holding on to it, I would encourage you to do that. But I'm going to tell you, find somewhere to set it down. We don't even I can't even take some things to God. He's like, you don't have to bring it to me. Just set it down where you are. I'll come get it. God will come get that pain. God came to me and got that pain. And the God will only move in my life to the degree that I take my hands off what I'm holding on to. All right.
Thank you, Irina.
Thank you.
Janine, come on up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janine. I'm an alcoholic. And thank you so much for showing up again, Brenda. And you almost kind of answered it, but it was like, so I've been sober a long time too. And happy birthday to you. And I've done a lot of work. I've done outside work. I've worked the steps. And the thing that, this meeting that I go to on Sunday is they're starting inventory, and I started doing inventory, and like the first three things that I've been noticing is that it's been affecting me is that I am feeling unworthy in my life. And I've done a lot of work around that to where I have walked into rooms just knowing I belong. And so it's not so much about feeling belong, but it's affecting my relationships. My question is that have you felt that in your sobriety? And it's like I had felt it and I thought I worked on it, but it's been coming up because it was on the inventory. And when it talked about in the personal relationships, it's like, how is it affecting it? It's like, well, because I'm feeling unworthy. And so if you could talk about times that you have felt unworthy, and because I've taken esteemable acts in my life, I have had all those spiritual experiences. And I'm not saying I'm not done, but it's, so if you could speak on that.
Thank you. You know how they say cunning, baffling, and powerful? It gets more cunning, more baffling, and more powerful the longer I stay sober. Everything you just described is a function of the ego. Because what happens is that if I feel unworthy, my ego goes, yep, after all that work you did, it didn't work. After all that work you did and all those inventories, God, you're not any closer to him than you. I'm like, this is what I say to my ego. Whoever needs this, write it down. When my ego wants to, by the way, it's got one job, and it's to separate me from God. It's its only job, and it takes it very seriously. It's the employee of the month every month. So I say to my ego, you do not have enough information with which to participate. Sit down. You do not have enough information with which to participate. Sit down. And I took all the cuss words out of it for you. And so listen to me. Those of you who've been sober for a really long time, here's the piece I just got and went, here it is. The work of the steps is like, here, God, here's the table, and you can have the fridge, and you can have the recliner, and you can have that, you can have everything, you can have everything. Yes, excellent. And I do that, I go through the steps and give all the big stuff. And then it looks like it's empty. And then I'm like, well, what else could I give you, God? And then, oh, wait a minute, I have some like yarn. I don't have yarn. God, what the hell would I do with yarn? I would have to give him the yarn. And then this little thing that's stuck in the basket over there, I didn't know it was there. So I give that to God, and I give that to God. And the truth is that being sober for a longer period of time just entails me getting to bigger and bigger places to make more and more surrenders. And so I've given everything I have. Here's the trap for years and years of sobriety. I stand in front of God and I'm like, there's nothing in my life that is unsurrendered. And God will look at me and he goes, then I guess it's just you and me, darling. And then I surrender me. I tell people all the time, throw all your troubles up into God's hands and then crawl in after them. It's the splinters of the deal. You know, I did work. I did all the therapy. We dug out whatever was in the wound, so forth and so on. And years later, it hurts. And I'm like, how can that hurt? We already did the surgery. The scar already healed. There were splinters in there. Splinters of my judgment, splinters of my lack. There were splinters. We have had to go open those wounds again to take the splinters out. And it has been profoundly life-altering and necessary. I don't want any middle of the road solution because I don't want middle of the road recovery.